to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to open it up to visitor comments. Please keep your talk still in 5 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
Agnes Peterson. I really want to congratulate everyone in this room on what went on tonight. And the reason I do is because I think that tonight was a demonstration of the pledge that you just gave.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the base form of government in the United States. And it's a free forum for citizens to come and tell their wishes one way or the other. And so I congratulate you on that. Also, I was impressed by the fact that one of the speakers took out the code book of the city of St. Helens and quoted from it, read from it, and wanted to abide by it. And the third thing I want to say is I have been somewhat disappointed with the city of St. Helens for some time, and I haven't expressed this before, but I'm going to now, that you have not had your legal counsel present to help you on the spot when an issue comes up. You have in the audience Robert Lucas, who for years was the lawyer for the PUD, Columbia River PUD. And I served on that board for many years as an elected official. And we always had our lawyer there on spot to give us advice about the rules. I also served on the St. Helens School Board, the ESD Board, the Board of Governors of the Oregon State Bar, and all of them had their lawyer present. Now, we're going to have some disagreements over time, but I want to say that I'm so happy to see your lawyer here tonight, and I make a recommendation in the future. You have legal advice available, because otherwise you're penny wise and pound foolish. And I really, really mean that. I suggested to the lawyer tonight that I would hope that he would be at more meetings. He's from a large firm, and I'm sure he can send someone else. And lastly, I want to point out that I think that you are violating your own rules if you proceed with item number 6. Thank you.
Okay. Any other visitor comments? Okay, hearing none. Proclamation, Kiwanis Children Cancer Cure Month, September 2018. Proclamation. Whereas Kiwanis International was founded on January 2nd, 1915, and has grown in over 90 countries worldwide. And whereas the men and women of the Pacific Northwest District of Kiwanis International have exhibited a deep sense of pride and community by serving the need of family and children worldwide. And whereas the Pacific Northwest District of Kiwanis International has, effective October 1st, 2010, initiated the multi-year district service-wide service project, Kiwanis Children Cancer Cure Program, and whereas this program will be funded by Kiwanis Children Cancer's Fellowship, allowing physicians to seek cures and current untreatable forms of cancer. And whereas the Kiwanis Club of the Pacific Northwest will collaborate on the Dornbecker Children's Hospital in Portland, the Seattle Children's Hospital, and the Vancouver, BC's Children's Hospital. And whereas the local St. Helens Kiwanis Club and Daybreakers Kiwanis Club of St. Helens are the item of their defining statement, Kiwanis is a global organization of volunteers dedicated to changing the world one child and one community at a time. Now, therefore, on the behalf of the City Council, coinciding with Pacific Northwest District of Kiwanis International Children Cancer Cure Program, I hereby proclaim September 2018 as Kiwanis Children's Cancer Cure Month.
I'd just like to state that I'm a Kiwanian and I'm also a cancer patient, so I just want to state that so we don't have a conflict of interest.
Okay. Yeah, you're not a child. All right. Okay, next on the agenda. Continued deliberations. I will refer to legal counsel on the appeal here.
Could I ask one question before we go there? And I would like Aggie Peterson, just in her 5-minute testimony, said that we were in violation of our own practices. Do I have council's permission to ask Miss Peterson why and explain? Is that okay? Because
yeah.
I really want to know what the issue is. Why we're in
Mayor,
violation.
At this
Wait.
point,
Yes.
you would be making a decision to reopen the record.
Yes.
No.
So if you choose to do that, a majority
No.
could do that.
No.
There are other points in the process where objections can be made. There are announcements and disclosures that need to be made, and it may be possible at that point to get the issue in.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to speak to what I believe it might be at the appropriate time.
Thank you. I just didn't want that to go away.
No, I don't think it's going to go away. So, we are at a point of continued deliberations on the matter of this appeal of this conditional use permit for a marijuana retailer or a medical shop at 100 St. Helens Street. The council requested continued deliberations for legal counsel input based on a tie vote. St. Helens Municipal Code 17.24.220 subsection 5 reads, in the event of a tie, the decision which is the subject of appeal or review shall stand. So what that says is the appellate authority has a tie vote. The tie vote has no merit, and so the only thing you have left is the, in this case, the Planning Commission's decision. Now, in discussion with legal counsel, this section does not preclude the ability of further votes. So we know a tie vote doesn't pass. It's not a successful motion. And the thought is that this section is intended for a situation where you're at a dead end. You have no other options. In this case, we still had options. We could continue deliberations, see where we're at with a full cadre of counselors, and to determine if a successful motion could be passed. So that's where we're at. Now I should note that I'm aware of some of these objections. Both Al Peterson and Venata and Peterson attorneys at law provided written objections to the city on September 13th. And because of the situation of the record being closed, we were like, okay, what are we supposed to do with this? And so they did request that we give copies to the city council, but we checked with legal counsel first to kind of, because obviously we're in a legal matter. And because the record was closed, we did not provide those to you. But we want at least you to be aware that that was done. And So the next thing we want to do, obviously, we know Keith was not at the public hearing and deliberations last time. St. Helens Municipal Code Section 1724-220 sub 4 says that only those qualified members who have reviewed the entire record shall vote. So now we have to pick on Keith. He wasn't there for the hearing, and so you are here now. So Keith, can you state your review of the record, please?
So, yes, I've, okay. So I've read the whole staff report of appeal number 1.18 on August 7th, 2018. I read the application of Robert Lucas and Robert Lee of 100 Street, St. Helens. I read the findings and facts and conclusions. I've looked at the emails, the photos. I watched the video of all the testimony and deliberations of the council. And I just happened to attend the planning commission meeting that actually was first looking at this application by Robert Lucas and Robert Lee. So I think I've covered just about everything on there as far as all the information.
Okay. May I ask a question? You'll have an opportunity very shortly. So because we're continuing deliberations and time has passed, and because Keith wasn't here before, we do have to go through some of our required statements. So first of all, does any member of the council wish to declare an ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias in this matter? Okay.
The record should reflect that there was no one who felt they needed to.
I had contact with Aggie Peterson on my initiation into Kiwanis at the Kiwanis at a Kiwanis meeting. We just said hello.
I believe A.E. Peterson also brought in a memorandum to us after our last meeting.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
did-
right.
We did view that, but
She
she did
visitor
present
comments.
that and pass that out at visitor comments.
Yes,
our
she
last
did.
meeting.
Okay.
That's true.
At
The meeting in between this, she
A
showed up
regular
and.
council meeting
and-
at visitor comments.
Yes. Just
So,
last week.
And we turned that over to our attorney.
am I correct in understanding that you did not review the content
No,
of the documents?
no.
Right, thank you.
Okay, so does anyone from the audience wish to object to the ability of a counselor to make a fair decision?
Yes. I object to Keith Locke sitting on anything in which I'm involved in.
We want to make sure that that's picked up by the.
Okay, I object to Keith Locke for several reasons. First of all, we have sued him personally. We sued the city of St. Helens because of their failure to follow their own law and the law of the state of Oregon concerning the Boise Cascade plant. We sued him personally for money damages. So we think he has a complete bias and should not be a part of this hearing. Secondly, I have already engaged a court reporter, and it's impossible for Keith to have reviewed the entire record because part of it is inaudible. And that is in the process of being transcribed as we speak. And I'm sorry I couldn't get it here for tonight. And so for those reasons, I sincerely object to Keith Locke sitting on anything I'm involved in at all. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Mayor, first let me ask Mr. Locke, in reviewing the video, did you find any of it had glitches or gaps that were so severe that you couldn't get the gist of what the witness was speaking?
I did not. I used to own St. Helens Computer Center, so I'm kind of tech savvy, and I know how to pull sound out of spoiled sound and whatnot. So there were some parts that were lower than others and whatnot, but I was able to hear them all, yes.
Right, thank you. process-wise under Oregon land use law, once there's an objection for bias, the person accused of bias has the opportunity to respond, and then following that, the remaining members of the body vote on whether or not that member can participate. So the next thing would be for Mr. Locke, if he chooses to respond to the allegation, and then following that, the council would take a vote on whether he should be allowed to continue or not.
Can I ask a question as an attorney? And I want to make a comment too.
If you have an objection to participation, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
You have an objection to the ability of a counselor to make a fair decision?
I'd like to counter. She's making an objection. I'd like to counter that with some information.
You know, at this point in the process, it's really the opportunity for the member that's been accused of bias to respond. So I think we need to do that.
The point is, she said she's got a bias, not that he's biased. And so I think you're wrong with regard to requiring a vote.
Well, let me.
You can be biased,
Right.
You don't ask the council to vote in favor of whether or not the person that made the comment is biased.
You mean you may have a different reading of the law than I do, but as I read the case law, that's what's required. So the next step would be for the accused member to respond, and then I suppose if the council wished to hear other testimony on it, it could, but it's not required.
Okay. Thank you.
Can he respond with aid and with counsel?
If you wish to allow that, yes.
So I guess, so my accuse is I'm biased in this because you filed a lawsuit against me, which isn't really against me, it's against the city because I'm on city council.
Apparently you can't read because there's a clear separate charge.
Now, let's allow the response.
And
Go ahead.
I guess, secondly, I wasn't actually served properly with that lawsuit, so there really is no, you haven't served me yet with that lawsuit. So,
Do you feel that any of the reasons offered would prevent you from deciding the case objectively based on the criteria that are before you?
no.
Thank you.
Okay. So do you guys all understand that? Council said? Legal counsel? So if somebody would like to make a motion one way or the other, please.
I move that we allow Mr. Locke to participate in with the deliberations and a vote.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve Counselor Locke to vote on the deliberations. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so Keith, you may continue with your deliberations, is my understanding.
Okay, so I'm gonna,
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to check and see if the staff has any additional remarks before
Okay.
we begin the deliberations.
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you just describe for the record where we are?
So I just want to briefly have a quick refresher on where we're at. So this was a denial by the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission found three things in error with the decision. One of the specific criteria for approval of this conditional use permit is that the characteristics of the site are suitable for the proposed use. And the Planning Commission found that the location made it unsuitable given events that occur in the Riverfront District that attract youth, such as those associated with Halloween Town in October, They also found that nearby uses such as the Columbia Theater and the CrossFit, which are in close proximity to the property, attract youth and make it incompatible. So that was one of the things that the Planning Commission found. Another thing that the Planning Commission found an error of this application was they looked at the comprehensive plan. So one of the standards that we can look at for conditional use permits is that the application complies with the applicable policies of the comprehensive plan. And so the Planning Commission looked at the comprehensive plan designation for general commercial, which is what this property is. And one of those standards says preserve areas for businesses by use limiting incompatible uses within them. It's kind of a weird sentence, but basically it's a compatibility factor. The commission made pretty similar findings to the other one. They're very related, the youth presence and things of that nature. They also said that in bringing up the theater, that it's unique in the area being there for a long time, and there's no other theater in town. I'm paraphrasing a little bit from what's in the report. The third item that the Planning Commission found in error was some specific standards we have in our code about these types of uses. So our code talks about maintaining 1,000-foot distance from childcare facilities and schools that lawfully exist at the time the conditional use permit application is deemed complete. And they talked about the Resonate Church at 220 South First and a conditional use permit at 231 South First, which are 250 and 300 feet away, respectively. One thing I mentioned last time was, and you're not limited by these three. You could pick anything, but those are the three that the Planning Commission highlighted, and so it's a little easier to wrap your hand around that. You only need one of them if you're inclined to denial. And I just want to remind you that in staff's opinion, the third one is technically incorrect. If you interpret lawfully existing for the Resonate Church and the Masonic building, that's going to create, I believe, havoc in the future, because your interpretation reigns supreme, and lawfully existing to me means you have all permits in place to enact the use. And in neither of those cases, for a variety of reasons, and if you want to talk about those again, they're on the report, they don't meet that. So I advise extraordinary caution on that third error that the Planning Commission found. The other two are potential depending on how you view those.
Okay, thank you for the recap. So I think we've all voted, and it's time for you to talk about.
Well,
no?
there was motions, but no motion passed.
Yes.
So
We're still
basically the slate's clean.
Yes, okay.
And I do want to remind you too, there are recommended conditions of approval.
The Sunday closure.
I don't know if Sunday closure was on there. I think there was a time limit.
I think there was.
Yeah, there was a. Well,
I'm going to talk about some of that, Jacob.
okay. The planning, because the Planning Commission recommended denial, that wasn't one of the originally recommended conditions, but it was one they talked about. And so, you have conditions 1 through 7 that could potentially be a number 8 if you approved with conditions and felt like the time restriction was worthwhile.
Mr. Mayor, can I make one other procedural suggestion?
Yes.
We have a case of controversy and where there's certainly capable counsel on each side, and I would want to be sure that by the time you reach your final decision, whatever it is, that we have an adequate set of findings that could be reviewed by LUBA, for example, if there were an appeal.
Yes.
So I would suggest that when you make your decision tonight, that you make it a tentative decision pending the adoption of a final set of findings as prepared by staff. We would come back at a later date then and do the official adoption of those findings. That would give staff the opportunity to prepare a document that would be appropriate in the event there was an appeal.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, I just want to state that I live less than 2 blocks from this facility, and I work a block from the facility. So I'm very familiar with the facility, and as anybody knows, I spend most of my time down here walking my dogs. So I do know Old Town just a little bit, although it's not Old Town anymore. Thank you, Agnes. We changed that. So anyway, stating that, they talked about events and children down here, which is absolutely true. I mean, it's a family-oriented place. But there's also probably just as many, I don't want to say adults down here, but there's a mixture of adults and children down here just as much. So let's talk about the one, I guess, is location. Whether I've walked past that place for, how long's it been empty? 30 years. On and off, yes. It's been most of the 30 years. So every so often you get somebody in there, and 6 months later they're gone. Yeah. So, and it's a very nice place, and it's a business. We as a council have talked about, losing all of our businesses down here, and all of the service organizations and churches coming into our Old Town. And is that what we want for our community? So we need to kind of think about that a little bit. Compatibility, like say, just in the last 10 years, I know there's been a brewery down here. Been 3 or 4 pubs, taverns, and never heard one objection to any of those businesses going in. And the child care centers are not one may never come to fruition, from what I understand, because there's a new business looking into that same location right now. And the other is not a legal child care facility. So, I knew that, I know, and I understand on people being concerned about marijuana. How many people in here have heard the term CBD?
Keith, you need to be careful about. This is deliberations.
Okay.
We're not gathering facts.
So, anyway, there's several types of cannabis, and one of them is CBD. It's something that comes out of something that's sold at dispensaries. It's a medical part of the cannabis plant, and it's something that a lot of people have, including myself, use on a daily basis. Like I say, I'm a cancer survivor, but it left me disabled. I'm in pain all the time. I'm on opioids all the time. Opioids are the worst drug in the United States today. Yet your doctor can prescribe those at a whim. Can I get CBD through my insurance? Absolutely not. But because I take CBD, I've cut down on half of my cannabinoids. That's huge. Probably if I'd slow down and not do as much as I do, I could probably get rid of all the cannabinoids. So, anyway. And to have a new business down here, I welcome a new business down here. There were some things, though, that through the testimony that I found interesting. One of the things was because I'm the police commissioner, I also watch these facilities very closely. And I know that a lot of them are doing illegal things. So one of the things I picked up on Mr. Lee's discussion was limiting the quantities that's being sold there so that somebody can't go in there and next thing you know, he's peddling it down here at the park and whatnot. So I know you mentioned an ounce, but even an ounce is quite a bit if you want to just turn around and resell it, because they sell it in grams, which is, what, there's 32 grams in an ounce? 28? Okay. So, what, a half ounce? Do you think that would be a huge issue?
You can't do
Okay,
it back and
okay.
forth.
Okay, so,
You can't.
okay. So, and then as far as hours of operation, this place down here closes down at dark, so I'm not real concerned about hours of operation. Smell, I haven't really heard any complaints from the other stores, but I would like to see that maybe we look at all of our facilities and make sure there is no smell, and if there is a smell, that they take care of it. One of the things, I've talked to John about this, and one of the things that I did because I was instrumental, no secret, to bringing in a grow facility to the Boise paper place. But one of the things I was adamant about, because of our lost policemen in this town, and I also help run the youth council, is I'm adamant about education for children. So in the contract for the growers that are coming in, they're going to be donating money out of each of their so many square feet to a safety and education and parks fund. I would like to see our dispensaries included in that, because I know that's talking to the kids and listening to the kids. That's part of the problem, is they don't have the education they need for drugs and alcohol both. And there's only one way to do that, and that's through a community process. We all need to be responsible for that. So, other than that, like I say, I think another store down here would actually. I haven't seen. Part of the thing was talking about the parade, the children's parade and stuff. Well, I've helped organize the Kiwanis parade down Main Street, and there's a dispensary on Main Street, and doesn't seem to affect the parade at all. So, anyway, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in favor as long as we have a few of these recommendations taken care of for having the facility here.
Okay, other discussion?
Beyond what we said last time?
Yeah, because we're revoting.
Okay,
We're having a whole brand new vote.
then the state of Oregon has determined this is a legal business and it fits the legal criteria. It's, I would approve it.
mic on. Yep.
Just thinking of, Counselor Locke brought up interesting conditions of approval. And I just didn't know how people felt about possible conditions of approval.
I would
I
agree
know we
with,
discussed things, but we didn't, we didn't come to any resolution, so we didn't even get to conditions or criteria for denial or approval.
I agree there should be some conditions, and I think some of them that he recommended would be good. Time restriction, limiting quantities, and preventing any odor. Those are all important.
Those are
Is-
good ideas.
Is odor already in a condition, or is that already covered by our code?
It's not. We've imposed those kind of conditions on grow operations. We haven't, to my recollection, placed them on these types of uses, though it doesn't mean we can't.
Probably as long as no one was using the product, there wouldn't be a lot of.
I think that doesn't reflect on this building. It's its own building. It's not gonna. It's not going to. They have to have it jarred. They have to have it sealed. It has to be all.
Yeah.
OLCC has done a fabulous job because they had Washington and Colorado to way ahead of us to mirror things off of and pick what they did right, not what they did wrong. And they've come a long ways. I think I agree with a restriction, especially a Sunday with it's not a designated daycare, but with Resonate, I would really like this to not have any activity over that way with people going to church. I will agree that this is a lot of medicine, the CBD, the cannabinoid that is in. I have not used anything like of this nature ever, but I know I've had lots of testimony from people in our community that use the CBD, the cannabinoid, and if they only have to go, if they live here and their knee's bothering them and it helps their knee, I'm not willing to send them up the hill because their knees are going to be broken down, beat up. I think that being said, for medical purposes alone, which 30 states, like I reported last time, 30 states have it medical, 9 do have it legal in the United States. You see the feds are talking about the cannabinoid. They realize, probably because pharmaceuticals starting to chime in, that's just my opinion on that, and that is opinion, that's not fact, that pharmaceuticals wanting their foot in the door, and I think the feds are going to lift it sooner than later. That's just a hunch, and don't take that to the bank, but that's where I think it's going. So, what other restrictions were you thinking of?
So far, we've got closed on Sundays and a half-ounce limit.
I think that's
I just I guess I'm a retailer at heart, even though I was not in favor of this particular application based on the comprehensive plan, based on visioning. I just am not a cheerleader of this plan, but conditions that would make it more tolerable for me is I'm not one to limit business. I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-business, but they're finished at Resonate by noon. Resonate is significant in the fact that it is publicly known as it's a recovery church. And so a lot of people go there that are dealing with addictions. And I think having that on their doorstep is really, I think maybe you don't need to sell cannabis products before noon on a Sunday.
yes. All these
That's-
recommendations could be find out that land use laws are not going to allow us to do it. Maybe.
But what are we allowed to do? What kind of conditions are we allowed to do?
Time, place, and manner.
So hours of operation
Mm-hmm.
is a suitable condition.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
That's
So-
a pretty classic land use type of condition, especially because it's a conditional use permit. So,
So manner could be like instead of a wholesale an ounce, we're saying retail keep it under a half ounce. Is that correct?
That would be a,
Would that be a
yes.
manner? Okay. So we're good. We're good on both those recommendations.
And so as a conditional use, there's a section in the code. Just to help you understand it. The planning commission may impose conditions on its approval of a conditional use which it finds are necessary to ensure the use is compatible. It's back to that compatibility issue with other use in the vicinity. These may include but not limited to, and there's a bunch of examples, but the first one is limiting hours, days, and place and manner of operation. There it is, the first one.
It's a retail operation.
And there's others too. But so it gives you a little more latitude in your conditions based on the nature of this type of land use action.
That's my opinion, because most of the retailers are not open early on a Sunday. The only thing that's moving down here on a Sunday morning is a lot of people going to church. And I just think that maybe that for a recovery church, that's not a compatible use on Sunday morning.
Well, as you know, I voted not to approve, and I was taken back by Mr. Lucas's remark that the area was an over 21 area for adults since you, for years and years and years. And it obviously I felt very different about that. I grew up in this town, and I feel very strongly about the direction of where this council is going to make this a family-friendly area, in that area included. So I started to ask some other questions about myself and about what I was hearing. And one of the things that I kind of focused on in my own mind, and I didn't know, and I clarified it with Jacob after the hearing, was legal business. When is a legal business established? And I thought, since the Planning Commission voted for the 2 child care facilities in a hearing, that I took that as being the establishment of a legal business. But Jacob clarified it and said, basically, the permits need to be in place. I do believe that their application came in prior to yours. So I started to think about this as in terms of legal kinds of ramifications of maybe that sat on a desk for some time. They had their application, and then your application came in. And I started to think about, okay, that kind of swayed my vote. It was an instant kind of thing, and we had to vote. I didn't quite have time to do my own research, and I wanted to do that. So I now know what the legalities are of establishing a business. But I still question how long it took from their application from the planning commission was granted their okay to go ahead with the business. If that was the time of an establishment of a legal business. That was my concern. I think it's answered now. I think one of the things that I don't want to happen, from your point of view and from our point of view, is for this to go ahead to go to LUBA. I don't want that. That to me would just be a horrendous waste of time and effort and funds. So very costly, I would think. I think I'm going to change my position. I feel very much like Counselor Carlson about the church being there, being sensitive to their kids, and I was down there on a Sunday and saw a massive amount of kids and a massive amount of family people out in the street. Nice sunny morning, everyone running around. I don't know if that's an issue really or not, but to earmark that area as an over 21 area, what came into my mind is, okay, adult bookstores, adult movies, possibly dancers, possibly other kinds of businesses that are for over 21, and I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be on the record for knowing that this city is not going to go that way, from my point of view. That's all.
Good. So I'm getting a general census that we want to go, most of us want to go forward. I'm not going to call for a vote yet, and then I will actually refer to, after that we refer to legal counsel with which way we vote, but with a restriction on no Sunday and a half-ounce limit.
I thought it was before noon on Sunday.
I think that's conversation.
Let's take a day off.
Yeah, it's a conversation to have, you know. It's up to us to decide the conditions. It's not up to anybody else to decide the conditions. Jacob has told,
Yep.
staff has told us
Yep.
what conditions were allowed, and it's up to us to come with the consensus of conditions.
Right, I just heard that mentioned.
Yes.
Right.
That's why I repeated it.
It's an okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very sensitive to how many vacancies we have and how many business people say it's so hard to start a business, and it's like, if it meets all the other criteria, how do we make this fit? You know, how do we amend this? How do we put conditional uses to where this conditional use permit is okay?
I was agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yes. So the staff is going to actually, that's their job
craft-
because of the LUBA
Right.
involved around all this, and that's why I voted the way I did vote. I
They'll
just want to make
craft
that clear. LUBA Land Use Board.
Jacob's smart.
I think we would have. So, I just want to state for the record that these stores are not where your kids are getting the marijuana. Okay, you really need to hear this. They are getting it from your neighbor's backyard or their closet or their dad's stash or their mom's stash. By Oregon state law, you can grow 4 legally marijuana plants per year, any time of the year. If you have indoor lights, you can grow anytime. You can have multiple cycles. Or you can go outside and grow pounds, literally pounds of this stuff. That is where your children are getting. You need to hear this.
Let me add a little bit to that.
No,
because-
hold on.
Well, go ahead, yeah.
Because I have teenagers. I have a senior that just graduated and a sophomore. This is where they're getting their drugs, okay? And you need to be aware of it. And if you suspect it, dig a little further and call the opposing parents' kids or mother or father and ask him point blank, do you have weed in your house? Is your kid stealing weed and my daughter's getting some? Because that's probably where they're getting it from. I want to make it very, very, very clear. I know, but that's exactly where I guarantee you most of the kids are getting their marijuana.
And
Okay, Keith.
they're getting it at school from those kids.
Yes.
We know from the youth council, it's been reported that the 6th graders have been offered, 75% of them have been offered marijuana at school.
So, just so you know, if I ever have my daughter catch wind, I catch wind of her, and your daughter's involved, I'm going to notify you because that's what we do as parents. We notify that, hey, I don't know, but your daughter seems to run in this same crowd because that's what we used to do in this town. You couldn't get away with nothing because we were such a tight knit community. They almost knew what you had done before you got home, for crying out loud. All right? I see people out there smiling and laughing and shaking their head. Yes. So that's where it starts, education and us being active in our kids' life. So I just wanted to state that before we go ahead and vote on this issue. So somebody needs to kind of make a motion referring also that we refer it to staff for recommendations from staff to protect us from LUBA.
Yeah. So what you'll do is you'll have staff bring written findings back to the next regular meeting for signature. So I just to remind you, there are 7, default conditions already written in there. To some technicalities about site design and stuff like that. Those weren't really controversial with the Planning Commission.
No.
No, the record's closed. I'm
So-
sorry.
So you'll bring us recommendations and then we can tweak them from there,
Well,
correct?
We're gonna. The important thing is to have the right findings.
Right.
But we do need a motion either in
Yes.
support or denial, and we have your testimony to help with the findings. But we need to understand where you're heading with conditions. That's important. So we have the 7 default ones. I'm assuming there's no problem
Addressing those.
with those.
Yep.
And then other things.
The other,
that you may
so the other
entertain.
things
We only
that I
listed
heard,
2.
well, yep, were the restricted hours on Sunday and the restriction on the amount of sold quantity, yep, sold at one time.
And
So can I take?
I would also put something in there for smell because there is an apartment right next door to the place. Myself, the chemo is taking my nose out, so I can't smell anything, but other people can. So we need to have that in there that in case there is any complaints about smell or whatnot, that it's taken care of.
So can I take a crack at the motion?
You can take a crack at the motion.
You can then correct me.
Okay.
I move we approve the application pending written findings of staff with the discussed conditions. Does that work?
I don't know. We need some specificity.
Is your intention to include in the motion the 7 non-controversial
Yep.
Yes.
items that were mentioned by the staff, plus 2 others, one being a restriction on hours, so there are no sales before noon on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and the
And
other being
quantity.
no sales exceeding 1/2 ounce.
Yes.
We also had talked about the smell. There were
Right.
actually
And,
3.
and a reference to
I would have
limitation
to,
on odor.
I would have to be very cautious of smell because I've thought I smelled marijuana before and it wasn't. It was a cigarette.
The
I'm just telling you right now. I have
But it has to
actually
be
had
proven.
that
It
happen.
has to be,
I know, but so
What
Okay.
what the condition that we included with some of our grow operations, like the one in the Holton area, was that it would not have off-site impacts beyond the boundaries of the property.
okay.
And so, someone says, all right, we smell something reeks of marijuana. And if we can smell that beyond the property, then we have to talk to the property owner to say, well, there's an issue here. Let's see if we can resolve it. It's not tested because we haven't had that kind of complaint. And I don't know if it would be the easiest thing to enforce, but that is a condition that we've used in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me. 2 people in my household are
Right.
respiratory issues, and so I think that that's a fair condition, given that the product's known to have an odor.
So we have a motion then to approve the a motion made, and do I got a second on that? I didn't get a second.
Second.
Okay, got a motion made and seconded to approve the 7 conditions from the planning commission. The hours of sales on Sunday, the quantity, and the smell within the confinement of the building.
Effect.
No offsite impacts beyond the boundaries of the property.
Right.
Yes. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You want to do individual? That's fine. Aye.
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 Opposed? Did you say aye, or are
No.
you abstaining?
No, I'm not abstaining. I didn't say aye, and
I didn't hear anything.
So I'm going to say aye now.
Okay, so is it unanimous? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Okay,
Okay, the findings will be forthcoming.
all right. Okay, ordinance final reading. Ordinance number 3229, an ordinance creating the Parks and Trails Commission adopting regulations, therefore, and repealing St. Helens Municipal Code, Chapter 2.16 and 2.64.
Move we adopt ordinance number 3229.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance number 3229. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, ordinance number 3231, an ordinance to amend the City of St. Helens comprehensive plan map for certain property from the suburban residential designation to highway commercial designation in the zoning map, district map from the moderate residential R7 zone to the highway commercial HC zone.
Move we adopt ordinance number 3231.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance number 3231. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Ordinance number 3232, an ordinance amending the St. Helens Municipal Code chapters 17.16, 17.24, 17.32, 17.96, 17.108, 17.120, and 17.128.
Move we adopt ordinance number 3232.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance 3232. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance first reading 3233, an ordinance establishing a comprehensive sewer use ordinance for user of City of St. Helens publicly owned treatment works, POTW, to comply with federal and state environmental regulations. Okay. Resolution, public comments, proposed increase in Dropbox. Oh, public comment on proposed increase in Dropbox rates. Is there any public comment out there? Come on up, Al.
I don't think my comments are really specific to Dropbox rates, but they're kind of specific to trash rates in general. And the only reason I'm bringing, or I thought of this, is because my parents own property out in Shiloh Basin, which is 7 miles up Tide Creek Road. And the house that I grew up in is rented to a renter now. And at that time, there was a renewal of the rent and the lease, and there was a little bit of discussion of the trash pickup. And I was shocked to find out that the price of trash pickup 7 miles out Tide Creek Road at Shiloh Basin is cheaper than trash pickup inside the city limits of St. Helens. And I was a little surprised at that, and I'm wondering why our local trash picker-upper can drive less than half a mile to my house and is allowed to charge more than driving 15 miles out in the country to pick up trash.
Do they have recycle and compost?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I
I
suspect.
would-
Anyway,
that.
well, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I'm just
Public
bringing it up.
comment.
I'm not going to debate.
Public comment.
I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. I think that you guys need to investigate. I don't know what they're charging them for. I think that I have watched some of these public hearings where, our local trash people come to ask for an increase in their franchise fees or whatever you guys call it. And I'm always curious. And sometimes I'm curious when there is a disjuncture between what they seem to be charging people for a 15-mile trip out in the country versus less than half a mile. And obviously, there's a lot more pickups inside the city of St. Helens than there is out on Tide Creek Road. So next time, and obviously this is a sort of related issue, but not directly related. This is Dropbox rates. But I think that you should take a pretty close look at that because, sort of on an unrelated subject, but still related to trash, I know for a fact that there are many contractors in this town and many residents in the county that actually drive their trash to Longview because it's cheaper. And so you need to take a look at that.
People collecting junk and not having their garbage all the way. If it costs, $500 to have your garbage all the way, you feed your kids, you don't have your hard garbage all the way. That's
Well,
sad.
I'm just
Yeah,
mentioning. I have a little bit of a reservation about the way in which these franchise fees are put together, and I think that the council should look closer at these spreadsheets and things that they're being presented and compare them to other municipalities and other places within our own county. So that's all I wanted to bring up.
Thank you. I know the garbage companies have been struggling because they actually approached us at the city county dinner, and they approached the county, and they gave a presentation. What, about 2-3 months ago was that city county dinner at the Elks Lodge that Hudson Garbage was asking to speak on the recycle and the Chinese not wanting to buy the recycle and
It'd be
actually
interesting to know when it's
rejecting.
cheaper to out up Tide Creek.
Comparison never hurts.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
cheaper.
They don't have recycle up there.
I'm
But we
just-
want to know the reason because it.
No, it
It's-
is.
It's disturbing to me the amount of people that are driving their garbage to Longview. It's that much cheaper.
It is cheaper.
That it's worth the gas.
Yep. Okay.
That's sad.
They also include some
Right.
in November, December area of leaf pickup, which
Right.
is all inclusive of city residents. Whether that has anything to do with all of this or not, we'll follow up on that. I think that's a good suggestion to really clarify why that is less expensive out there. Thanks.
I know they pick it up every other week for me, yard debris, and it's $3, and I make sure because I'm a yard businessman that thing is full every time because it costs me $3. So I do know that.
I'd like to know why St. Helens charges 20 cents more per gallon of gas than anywhere else. That's what I'd like to know.
It's always something.
It was cheaper.
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
So-
but I buy it.
So okay.
Next.
Okay. Any other public comment on this issue? Okay. Resolution number 1828, a resolution establishing Dropbox rates and superseding resolution number 1799.
Move we adopt resolution number 1828.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1828. All in favor?
I'm
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Approve and authorize for signature. A, quote for wellness construction for new roof for Fair Building. B, request a proposal for towing services. C, agreement with Scappoose Public Library District for a shared library catalog.
Move we approve and authorize for signature 10A through C.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded to approve 10A through C. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, appointments to city boards and commissions. What we got?
I don't have anything.
We have nothing? Let me look. Usually we have something when she puts it on there, but there might not be.
I'll have library next time.
Library 4-year term. No.
Not new.
I'm not seeing one on there, so we'll go ahead and scratch it, and if we need to, we will appoint them on the next agenda. Put that in the minutes that we couldn't find. Yep. Okay, moving on. Consent agenda for acceptance. A, Planning Commission minutes dated August 14th, 2018.
Move we approve consent agenda for acceptance. Items A, Planning Commission minutes.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 12A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda for approval. A, council work session, executive session, public hearings, and regular session minutes dated August 15th, 2018. B, accounts payable bill list. C, street closures or request.
Move we approve consent agenda 13A through C.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve a consent agenda A through C. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, don't have a lot to report. Yeah, I kind of will report a little bit of what I did earlier. Getting ready to go to the League of Oregon Cities next week, and got a couple different work sessions that I'm going to, but one's hanging out with the mayors again. Good group of people that I've actually got to know and getting some helpful advice on how to move the city forward. Like I spoke when I got back from the mayor's annual meeting, is I would really like to see adopting the that more of a different type of goal system. So that's something that when we get ready to do that, and I've talked to John about this, when we get closer to that time, is maybe just looking at tweaking the way we do our goals, which is good. There was another standard that was just like that there, but it's just a little tweak to it, and it kind of puts ownership on projects, and I think that's going to be something that's needed with all the construction that's getting ready to happen, is to put ownership on the projects. So, and this weekend, Friday night, there's a Cruise in the Gut, trying for a record cruise. Dairy Delish is, the Highway 30s are meeting there. Highway 30 cruisers, Dairy Delish and Eaton's Tires show up. Family fun event. You don't have to have a classic car to come out and cruise, as long as it's a street legal car and you obey all laws, right, Chief Greenway? Yes. So, that's all we ask. So that's my report. So I'm going to start with Council President Morton.
I'll be off to League of Oregon Cities this week as well, and I'm signed up for an intensive all-day workshop with Urban Renewal. And I know somewhat the urban renewal guidelines and the ins and outs about it, but this is going to, I think, give me a greater insight. So I'm really looking forward to that, and you'll be there too. All right.
Yep. I'll be there too. Councilor Khan?
Again, a reminder, on Saturday, it's a busy day. There's the Out of Darkness Walk for Suicide Prevention from 8 to 11 at Scappoose, I think it was Scappoose Middle School, right? And a community house at the St. Helens Senior Center. And somebody said 11 to 5. The time I had was 11 to 3. So 11 for sure. And Suzanne Bonamici's having a town hall at 2 p.m. in Scappoose at Scappoose Middle School.
I apologize. I did say that 11 to 5 earlier. So 11 to 3
Bonucci?
for the
Oh, wait a
fundraiser.
minute.
Councilor Carlson.
I covered most of the stuff earlier. I'm unable to do the League of Oregon Cities this year. I feel that we're well representative, but I did get invited to a rural community summit in Eugene that Ford Family Foundation sent me an invitation to and offered to pay my way. So I'll be attending that in October. So I figured one weekend away for the city is probably enough. So
Hey.
that's all I have.
Councilor Locke.
One thing I want to talk about is, you know, a lot of the merchants, they get, I don't know, upset with us because they think we don't advertise their businesses or do things for their businesses enough and whatnot. And I guess I look back at some of the other counselors, but that's really not the city's direction is to do those type of things, but we actually do. We put on a lot of events so that we attract people to this town. We always look at things and try to help out the businesses and whatnot. But the reason I bring this up is because I go to the Duck games, and I like to walk between the university and the Autzen Stadium. It's about 3/4 of a mile over there, and you walk across the Willamette River, which is just beautiful and whatnot. And anyway, when you come home, you get across that bridge, across the Willamette, and here's this gentleman there. He happens to own Tracktown Pizza. And he's sitting there handing out coupons. The owner of the store. And you know what? He has one of the most successful pizza places in Eugene. It's a great place. Great ingenuity, great idea. And city doesn't help him do that. He just does it himself. So there's an idea for you. And other than that, I don't know. Just over the years, I've been accused of doing things unethically and cheating the town and doing these things and whatnot. And like I say, I'm a 21-year cancer survivor, and I'm not supposed to be alive today. I had a cancer that's incurable. And I'll tell you, I did a lot of soul searching during that time. And I take offense to somebody saying that I'm unethical and whatnot. In fact, if you look through the records, I brought a resolution to this city council about being ethical. My name's on it. So anyway, just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay. Is that it? Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Department reports. Chief Greenway.
I have nothing more to add other than a friendly reminder that Thursday, October 4th, is our inaugural first Thursday meeting between the St. Helens Police Department and the St. Helens community. It's being held at the St. Helens Public Library, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And our first topic is going to be Halloween safety, and then open it up for general questions for the community members. And we're looking forward to a big turnout for our first one and continue the momentum for the rest of the rest of the time, just to build this great community meeting. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Sue?
I just wanted to acknowledge Crystal and thank her for stepping into Kathy's role. I know that it's a lot of work, so I do appreciate her being here. That's all. Thank you.
All right. We appreciate her too. Neil? All right. Margaret?
I just want to invite everyone to come to the library tomorrow night at 7. This will be the 4th installment in our year-long series on civics for adults. The purpose of this is to enhance civic knowledge and inspire political engagement. Our topic is beyond voting, elections, and campaign financing. So come join us.
Okay. Matt?
Just real quickly, thank you for approving for signature the Farah building roof improvements that are needed. So I expect you will see somebody on that roof probably within the next week or so, because I know he was calling to see where we were in that process. So thank you for approving that, and you'll see some definite improvements on that building as we get into the near future, which would just I would just ask the council to maybe ponder an idea of what you want to name that building, as it's been called Farah for a long time, but it's no longer Farah. So no decision or anything that we need to discuss tonight, but maybe just ponder that over the next couple weeks or so as we kind of come to this discussion of what the name of that building is going to be and what the purpose of that building is going to be used for around this entire community. So just something to think about.
Sounds like a great youth contest to me, Matt.
Something to ponder about.
That's what I'm pondering.
Maybe that's where we house our finance director.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Crystal? Nothing? John?
So I mentioned earlier in the workshop that we're holding tentatively October 17th at 6 o'clock for a update on the waterfront redevelopment project. The prospective developers agreed to come in and just talk about where he's at in the project, talk about his other projects that he has going around, what those mean to those communities. There's one in Hillsborough. There's one coming out of a hotel coming out of the ground in Independence right now.
Yep.
October what?
17th is right before the regular meeting. And I want to be a little sensitive to, we've had really good turnouts at meetings that involve the waterfront, so kind of have gauge the barometer of interest. It will be televised. I don't want to have an overcrowded situation, but it seems like every time we plan for it, it doesn't happen, and when we don't, it does. So.
Yeah, it's Luigi over, is what you mean, over there.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll also go recap kind of the work done to date, too. It's just kind of a refresher of the planning process, the funding tools in place, the grant, go through the build grant application and things of that nature. And I think it'll be a good check-in to
kind of go back down the little timeline, basically. Yeah. That's on there. Yep. Sounds good.
That's it.
That it?
6. 6, yeah. There'll be more. We haven't done any announcements yet. This is all kind of just
Okay, I look forward to having Dwight here to have that presentation. So
yeah, we actually tried to push it out a little bit, but Dwight's going to be, the developer's going to be out of the country shortly. He's leaving the next day to look.
Oh, okay. So. Yep. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, we're adjourned.
No, he was the guy that came.